Hey everyone, John Doyle from Optics EQ on a Sunday, May 1st. Happy May 1st, everyone. Getting closer to the Derby. Excited about that. We did get a plot. We're down to 24 on the plot now. So I'll show you that later, just briefly. But really what I wanted to do is kind of just cover some of the early racing going on around the country, focused in on Belmont Park, my home, New York, my ex-home. So I just want to take a look at the races there in the early pick five. It's tricky. It could pay good. Take a little bit of an investment, I think, but worth kind of just, going through. And, if you have any kind of questions, I'll do my best to try to handle the questions and and just keep the stream going here. So if I don't get to you, I always try to follow up afterwards. So, but anyway, thanks for joining. And we're going to get right into the first race here at Belmont. I think that's a way to attack this thing. It's 45 minutes right now out to the first race. And the one thing I do, let me just send an email out to my users here so that they can join us live. Let me get to the mail. Okay. You can see the plot in the first race. The 2 is going to be a big favorite. He's got a big square. But you notice that these horses have, lightly raced, right? They're maiden special weights, so they don't really have established running styles yet and so forth. So this race is a little tricky. Most of the people are going to probably just land on the 2 and that'll be it. But I don't know. That might be a little bit of a too easy here. He's currently 4 to 5. And let's go to the grid because I think, the plot just says it. I think, if you just looked at the plot perspective, 1, 2, and 3 are the horses that you want to, look at from a plot perspective. They'll look any good. But let me go to the grid here and take a look at the number 2 here. The one thing he is he's coming out of the same race, the 27th, as the 5, I believe. Yeah, the 5. The 5 in that day was against the bias. I still think the turf is probably better. You can see the projection of turf. I think the turf is probably best for this one, but it was against the strong. I think it was a speed bias, right? So he's hard to close in on that day. I tried to close a little bit. That was the same day that the 2 was in that race. The closed line was 3 to 1 this horse. So this horse was 3 to 1. Okay. Let's go to the 2, who was 2 to 1. So they were really close in odds. And there's a much more significant difference in their odds today, 4 to 5 versus 5 to 1. And most people are betting it because this horse finished well ahead of that other horse, maybe 13 lengths. But this horse got a perfect trip. It took advantage of the bias, still couldn't push back past late. And it was a significant improvement on the debut figure. So is there some room for regression here? Possibly, especially with the perfect trip. And the fact that he wasn't such disparity in the odds should tell us a little bit of something about the 2 horses coming into that race. But one horse is interesting to me because this horse looks fast enough to win this race. I mean, it looks like the fastest horse in the race. Just take his first 2 races as a 2-year-old. He ran really big, 81s. Now, with that projection, typically, I think this was being back in, I would say, October, the first 81. And he was against the bias with that 81. You just kind of project that forward, and you're talking about an improvement of at least 8 points, right? So you got November, December, January, February, March, April. Okay, so you got 6 months. Yeah, about a 10-point improvement, maybe 9-point improvement. That would put this horse in the 90s. That would put this horse, kind of in front of the 2 in terms of speed figures. The horse did return, in his last race off a layoff and got sloppy track. So the only time this horse got a fast track, this horse ran an 81 and was against a inside bias that day. And it was at Belmont over this track as a 2-year-old. So for me, I think this horse might be the key. It might be the single. He's currently 5 to 1. So I'm thinking maybe single because I think if he doesn't win, it's wide open. I'm not so convinced the 2 is the only horse. Let's look at the 5 and the 6. And we'll look at the 5. Let's look at the 6 horse. Really slow. I mean, hard to back this horse. Lost, below this level. The only thing I'll tell you is this barn is red hot right now. The Notre Dame, 3 races, 3 wins at Belmont. So, and the fact that Ortiz takes the mount is kind of mildly interesting, but still, got a lot to overcome. The 3, I thought this horse is a little bit sneaky, even though he's again another horse that lost below the level. Really no red keywords, and in his debut, off his debut, I put a stretch in there. I thought this horse could stretch out. Then next race he got kicked back, and he hasn't run well since. So I don't know, but I mean he's another horse with some potential, right? If he can improve with the stretch out, not 78, 79 numbers, get him maybe mid 80s, he's a contender. So for me, I'm using him as my backup. So for me, it's I think pretty much it's the 1, and I'm going to try to beat the 2 here, and I'm going to back up with the 3 as a price. So 1 and 3 in late 1 at Belmont. That's how I'm going to go with that. Race 2. Okay, so race 2 is interesting because you could see that the 4 and the 6 are the speed horses, right? You can again, we got another red plot, so it's a hard to really just kind of evaluate just based on the plot alone. So, but the 6 and 4 look like the horses that will be forward early. You're going to see that the 6 is way below in terms of the quadrant. He's way in quadrant 3, while the 4, but they're kind of on par in terms of early pace. Just looks like the 4 starts asserting an advantage in the second call, and then in the third call, looks like the 4 comes back. So it's going to be interesting to see how those 2 kind of play out. The 2 looks like he can sit a trip. It's coming off a layoff though, and let's go to the grid here on this horse. Problem with him is that he ran poor effort, and he's got back class numbers to win this race. But the problem is he had a poor effort, follow up that poor effort with a layoff. So he's kind of a little bit, shaky. But a horse you have to include in this race, right? That's the way I would do it. Okay, so here's the 2. A little slow here. On this, my slow machine when I record here. So, okay, so the 2 is Breadman. Yeah, see, I don't like the race. He's getting probably. I don't know if Turfus is more preferred at surface, so hard to tell. But if he gets back to these races, he's classy enough that he's obvious contender. But I think in this race, just kind of look at this race, probably we're going to go 4 deep. I don't know who's going to win the speed duel, but I think the horse that wins the speed duel could be dangerous either between the 4 and the 6. So I'm going to include them both. And then I think the 7 is sneaky in terms of a finisher. If everyone kind of gets involved early, the 2 doesn't show up, I could see this horse running on late to maybe pick up some pieces. He looks kind of cheap, but it's that kind of race. It's really kind of shaky, hard to interpret some of this form. So for me, 2, 4, 6, 7, especially if I'm going to, be strong on races 1 in terms of the 1, I think, I can go a little deeper here and try to beat the 2, who's probably going to be the favorite. Okay. Race 3. I'll go to my notes and what do I say about race 3? Okay, well, you look at the plot. We got another red plot. You look at the plot, and it looks like the 1 and the 5 are early pace. Looks like the 3 plots beautifully. 7, okay. 4, a little bit of a deep closer. And even the 6 is okay. This race is tough race. So, it's another race that's a non-winners to a lifetime. These races are really difficult to assess. So you don't want to, they're hard. I mean, just because the horses usually can't win. So one of the things you always kind of look for in this race is horses that haven't lost as much. So you're going to see in this race the numbers 1 and 5, because you can see all the starts the 2's had, all the starts the 3 has, the 4, the 5 is lightly raced. So the 5 and the 1 look like the most lightly raced horses. Now, The 1 is going to be a big favorite. Okay, so he ran at Tampa, and he ran a B+, okay, for Johnny Velasquez and Clement. He ends up in the Pletcher barn off a 407-day layoff, and they drop him to this non-winners 2 level, claiming 25. He duels, fades, and now he's in for 16. Not a horse that I thrive on. I mean, he could win. Looks like he's the fastest horse, but obvious issues with this horse, right? Makes him really suspect. But he could win. The 2 kind of pretty much looks like a toss based on his form. The 3, third race off a layup, but it looks like the numbers are declining here, right? It doesn't look like this horse is improving much. The 4 was the other horse I thought was mildly interesting because this is a horse that may be able to pick up some pieces. Let me go back to the plot here. If the 1 and the 5 hook, I think maybe the 4 might be the best horse for picking up pieces late. And let me show you. I'm going to show you some of his races in fast-paced races. And this is the race shape, the first race shape, which is 4 furlongs. And he's done some decent racing. He's come off the pace when he gets a little bit of a fast pace. He runs a little bit better figure. He's running the 80s, 84, which puts him kind of in contention with those, the 1 and the 5 in terms of the 80s, which you're going to need to win. So it's not a horse that I would ignore, in a crazy race. Maybe he just gets up. But I'm probably going to stick on the 5 in this race. I think this horse, I would assume the idea here is to send on this horse. And he's run 1 race, his maiden breaker. Okay, it was for $20,000 level, but so is the other. Now, you can say, oh, wow, he's been running against much better. But got to remember, these races are restricted to 3-year-old horses. So, you have to pay attention to that. These are older horses, right? He's running against today. But this is the first time he's going to get a fast track. He gets back to his win jockey, who was on the 1 last time. Now, I don't know if that means anything, right? Gomez is on the 1 now. But I assume he's going to send, probably the 1 sends from the rail. If he's the speed of the speed, I'm kind of go with him just because I think the 1's will be much shorter and iffy. So for me, I'm kind of focused in on 4 and 5. I mean, if you think we're going to catch a price in those other 4 legs, you might want to include the 1 just for some insurance or a backup. But for me, I think 4 and 5 are the horses here, mainly 5 in race 3. Okay, race 4. By the way, we're 33 minutes out of race 1 at Belmont. And I'll get to some of the other races around the country while I'm on here. I'll probably stay on for the first couple of races at Belmont. So enjoy. Okay, race 4. Another race with limited form here. So this is another race where I'm probably going to go deep. You have the 2 Chad Brown firsters, the 2 and the 8. I'm going to include them again because I'm taking some shots with some of the other favorites in the other legs, so I don't mind. And then I'm also probably going to include the 4 and the 5. Both have form, and both have run in the 80s. I'm against the 9 a little bit in this race. Even though his numbers are kind of comparative, he's coming off a little bit of a layup. But I thought the 4 was, of all of them, and if you're playing like exotics, like tries and supers, this is a horse you might want to consider. Okay, let me pull him up. But again, 2, 4, 5, 8. It's kind of from a pick 5 perspective. This horse started his race in the mud, ran a okay race at Saratoga. Those are the toughest maiden special weights around. Then he had slow in traffic in off the turf at Saratoga. And they were trying to stretch him out there, obviously, because it ended up 7 furlongs. It probably was like a mile or something race. Then they tried him. Then they finally tried him on the turf. He ran pretty good at Belmont. Okay. I shouldn't say good. Okay. Came back, improved a little bit on shorter distance. Then they put him back in a sprint, because it's the aqueduct meet. There's really not a lot of offerings in terms of turf. You're not going to get turf. Surprised they didn't ship him. Maybe didn't have enough confidence just to Gulfstream, Florida, and try him out there because obviously they want to put him on the turf right from the get-go. And he got kicked back in a poor effort. But as we've seen before, that green keyword is critical because we've seen horses jump 20, and you can see he jumped 20 points the next time. It's really a negative thing. You know, we'll put kickback sometimes in the notes, but it won't be kickback. It'll be other. But when it's severe like this, it gets its own keyword, green keyword, and it's been for us incredibly effective as a keyword. And in that race, it was off the turf. They probably tried to get him back on the turf. He encountered traffic. So now he gets back to turf. Second off a layoff. This horse is, you know, he's worth a shot, you know, especially underneath at what's going to be a big price. Okay. So, especially if you're going to use some of those Chad Brown horses or you like one over the other, you know, look at this horse in the bottom of your tries and supers. Okay. All right. So that's race 4. Moving on to race 5, another tricky race. You know, I think this is another race I'm going to go a little bit deep, 4 deep. Looks like the 2 looks like the favorite, but you can see where he plots. He's a deep closer. And so, you know, he's going to have to be coming from off the pace. You know how that works out, right? I mean, yeah, it's 10 furlongs, so he may not be that far out of it, but still. It's always vulnerable trying to play these deep closers. So yeah, for me, I'm going to stretch a little bit. Notice the 8. He stands alone here, basically on surface and distance, but even on standard, you can see he's the only E in this race. He's an EP. So this horse is going to have an advantage from a pace perspective. Now, his form has been bad, but he's been running against grade 2, grade 3 companies. So he gets us a class drop here. And let me go to the grid. I'm just going to go back to the plot while the grid's coming up. You know, just in case they kind of leave this horse alone, look at the contention speed rating in this race, 0 and Snowflake. So that's a horse I'm going to really consider. Looks like the 7 could also be up close. So it's another horse you might want to consider, you know, just from that perspective. And then the 6 is the other maker. This is a horse that I think might be, look at his square at surface and distance. It's a horse that might have some finishing ability. Comes out of races in Sam Houston last time, Gulfstream. And then the other horse I thought was a little bit mildly interesting was the 9, the Brad Cox horse coming off. It's got some class. So, yeah, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9. In that less leg, you can play it the way you want. You might want to hone in a little bit more than I'm doing here, but yeah. So again, the 2 is the other thing about the 2. Just hasn't run in 162 days, but you know, obviously this horse has got some class and it's had some finishability. Let me go to the 8 because I'm talking about the 8. You know. It seems like when he gets the lead, he can be really dangerous, this horse. You can see his lone races. He's won with big figures. So, again, definitely a horse that I want to be using in exotics, the 8, no doubt about it. At a price to 7, I thought was a little bit mildly interesting. Looks a little slow, but there might be a little bit more upside, you know, because most of his races was 3-year-old. The 6 was the other one that I thought was a little bit interesting too. This was the other maker in the race. So maker has the 6 and the 8. So he's got the early pace and the late pace horse in this race, kind of a horse that could finish. So you know that was it. And then I think we talked about the 8 again. Okay, so that was it. Again, I think the main thing in this race, we'll see when the odds come up, but you know this 8. It's going to be worth including in exotics if you want to put them in all the different slots, maybe first, second, or third, and play around those other horses I talked about, the 6, 7, 2, and 9. Okay. All right. So we're at 27 minutes out for race 1 at Belmont. For those who just joined, let me just take a break here. I'll be back in 5 minutes. And I'll review the pick 5 that we talked about. Okay. Just Okay, I am back. A couple of things I want to just point out too. With the Kentucky Derby and Oaks coming up, Emily and I will probably do an Oaks race kind of review early next week. And again, if you want to buy our product, go to a buy here, and then you can buy the Kentucky Oaks. Friday, Saturday, you get all the notes grid plot for all the races those 2 days. Not only Churchill, but also all the tracks. And you also get the focus report. That'll be mailed to you. It kind of looks like this. If you want to go to the website and kind of get a feel for it, this was last year's. See Friday and Saturday. You can open it up and take a look at it, and that will be emailed the day before the races. So Fridays will be emailed Thursday evening, and then Friday evening you'll get Saturday's focus report. And it's got a chock full of stuff in here, odds and all the rest. Okay, very good. And also we give a matrix here somewhere at the bottom. Let me pull it up. I think it's go through all the races and do like an ABC style matrix somewhere in here. Okay, enough of that. Let's get back to the show. So let's go to back to race 1 with 24 minutes out. For those who may be joining, I kind of sent the email out late for people who are subscribers, but what I said here is that you can have the 2, just not crazy about the price here at 4 to 5. I think there might be another way to go, kind of leaning on the 1 as my key, and I thought the 3 was a little bit of a backup. And the reason again was that the 2 plot's great, but again the plot's based on 2 races, and got a perfect trip, got the benefit of the bias last time, and I think that he could regress off that effort. The 1 has back numbers that with projection would look superior to him, and then I let the 3 just because he's had some trips, and he's a horse that I thought would stretch out, and this is the first time he's stretching out. He plots pretty well on standard. Let's go to quad percentage if people don't know what this means. What this means is this kind of tries to fit where these horses are plotting versus the track profile, and then compares them to one another. So the horses that compare favorably on the plot from a track profile are 1 and 2, 3, 2 to some extent, 5 and 6 not so much, and that makes sense, right? Because 5 and 6 are circles in quadrant 4. So that would make sense. So anyway, 1, 2, and 3 look like the horses that plot the best. But again, kind of leaning on 1 with a 3 backup. We'll go from there. Okay. Second race. And by the way, right now the 1 is 5 to 1, the 2 is 3 to 5, and the 6 is 6 to 1. So I think you're getting value with the 1 and 3. I don't know what the doubles are paying or what the projected close win price is going to be on them, but right now I would say they're both value. This is the race where I thought we just kind of go 2, 4, 6, 7 with kind of just eliminating the 1 and 5. Reason being the 4 and the 6 is I think one of those are going to dominate the early lead, and if one of them keeps going, you want to be covered. The 2 is going to be the favorite. Not crazy about the 2, with the layoff and the poor effort before the layoff, but hard to leave that horse off, especially the way he plots. And then the 7 was kind of a little bit of a horse that looked like he might be picking up some pieces late. Might be the best of a lot, in terms of value. I don't know about value, but might be the most likely winner in this race. And so if you want to maybe focus your bet a little bit more on him, I can understand that. I don't know. It's all up to you how you play this. The big thing is playing these things, these pick 5s and multi-race bets. It's there's a whole strategy involved and how you want to do it, what your budget is, what you're trying to accomplish. But I think the main thing for me in all these things is if I think the favorites are vulnerable in at least 3 of these legs or 4, I want to get involved. Mostly if it's 4, and I think there is. I mean, I think the favorites could win, races 1 and 2, but I'm definitely in race 1 against it. Race 2, you know, I'll include the 2, but again, I am not enamored with him. So there's a reason that, you know, there's a possibility that 1 and 2 could both not win. The first 2 favorites could not win in this pick 5. That would be a good start to the pick 5. And it doesn't have to be big prices. You know, if you're winning with 3 and 4 to 1 shots, and you're beating 3, 4 to 5 shots, 1 to 2 shots, it's huge. It really does add up, and you can see the value, especially with the takeout. I mean, the pick 5 from Naira is, yeah, I think one of the better ones in terms of value. Okay, race 3 is that crazy non-winners 2 lifetime again. And for those who joined a little late, you know, I'm kind of spreading in here. I mean, I'm not, yeah, I shouldn't say I'm spreading. I kind of are against the 1 just because it just, I'm not going to argue if you kind of include him on your tickets, but I thought he was vulnerable type. And I thought the 5 might be sort of a key in this race, just maybe speed of the speed. And I like the 4 if the 1 and 5 hooked to come running. So I was 4-5 in this race. I don't, you know, maybe on some tickets, the way I play it, I might include the 1. But it all depends on, you know, what I'm trying to do right now. No, I'm just handicapping kind of on the fly a little bit. Race 4. Yeah, and the 4th and 5th race, I kind of spread. It was 2, 4, 5, 8 in this race because he had some firsters from Chad Brown. Yeah, I'm going to have to include him. And I just thought the 4 was a sneaky horse. Thought he might be a little bit, you know, underappreciated, and might be a horse you might want to include, especially in exotics under in tries and super. But I would include him in my pick 5 and hope for the best because he's not that terrible and he kind of fits on numbers. So 2, 4, 5, and 8 were the horses for me in this race. And then race 5, you know, kind of leaning, you know, this is the race I kind of like the 8 at a big price to be at least the slots 1, 2, and 3. You can see the light pace contention, the speed rating's low. This horse is going to be on a clear lead. This horse can win at this distance. So why not? And thought the 6 was another interesting underneath horse. The 8, the 9, and the 7, but you know, that kind of order. So 2, 6, and 8 for me the most. Then if you want to kind of like back up with the 2 and the 9 and the 7, because I think the 2 is probably the best horse. It's just that, again, is a horse that's going to have to come from way back. And it's always difficult, especially in a race shape that looks like this. So, but he could be the best horse and doesn't matter. So I guess if I was keen this race, my A's would be 2, 6, and 8, just trying to get a price. And then my B's would be 9 and 7. That makes sense. Or maybe even C's. Okay. For people that use that nomenclature to make pick 5 bets, you know, they used it A, B, C, came from, I guess, originally Barry Meadows, I guess, or, and then Steve Chris wrote a whole book about stuff like this. And he's done a lot of great work, and the DRF did some work on the utility to do that. You know, some good stuff in there. You know, some I don't completely agree with, but it's good stuff. Anything that's different, or you know, people put stuff out there, I think it's good to educate people. I think it does. It really did help educate a whole litany of, you know, multi-race bettors and bring them to the fold, which I think was the objective. So that's races 1 through 5. You know, we're about 17 minutes out of race 1. I'm going to peruse and see if there's anything else going on out there. So we'll go to Gulfstream. Gulfstream is 22 minutes out. Let's see if anybody else is. Okay. Let's see Laurel. Laurel's off, so I missed that race. Well, the race is going on right now. I'm gonna pull up the plot so we can look at it. So the 4 has got a clear lead. 2 and 7 are stalking. Okay, got a pretty comfortable position. So you can see the 4's got the lead, 2 and 7, okay. And 3 is next. Kind of really plotting 5, and it's really plotting pretty accurately right now. So 4 is on a clear lead, which he does, and sometimes he doesn't finish. You can see that no finish last time. He kind of did something similar. 7 looks like he's very comfortable stalking in second. He's about 5 or 6 lengths off. So he has a very good chance that he'll reel this horse in. He's the 4 to 5 morning line, or actual favorite right now. 3 is starting to move, creep up on the inside of the 7, about a length and a quarter, length and a half off of that horse. And 2 is fading. The 5 and 6 are way back. So to me, it looks like a 3-7 here, both of the horses. 3's got an inside trip. The 4 is tiring right now, which is kind of like what we expected based on the circle. So they look like they're coming from both ends on this horse. He's hanging in there, but it looks like the 3 is staying on while the 7 is just stopped, basically. And the 4 is kind of backing up. 5 is running a little late, but this is all 3. So 3 with that good plot stalked. The 4 and the 7 got an inside trip, and 1 as a non-favorite. So he got a B last time, okay, which is the best last out grade. Something to mention there. Yeah, so that's that. Wins it pretty easy at 7-2. Okay. Let's see if we can find any more racing. But that really applied right to the T. And it's great when it does that, doesn't it? Not always, but when you get those green plots, they're pretty good. So they're pretty accurate. And again, when you're doing races that where you have established form too, that's important. Where the horses have run styles, and you're not looking at horses that have only run 1 or 2 times. Obvious, right? Okay. Let's see what we got. We got 24 minutes the first race at Woodbine. So we got a little time before anybody else starts. So looks like Belmont's going to be the next track that's up. Let's go back. I'm looking on my satellite TV. Lots of different ways to watch races today. I like the satellite TV because it allows me to, especially when I'm doing trip notes, to rewind better. And you could do it even. You could stop and then go back and with video, but something about being able to do slow motion and things like that are helpful, especially if you're trying to uncover some things. Well, 2 is still the 1 to 2 morning. No, I should say actual odds favorite now. Live odds 1 to 2, and 1 and 3 to start staying at a pretty good price. 5 and 7 to 1 respectively. Okay. So anyway, let's see. Let's see if we got anything going on here. Any questions? Okay, so nothing out there in terms of questions. Yeah, if you have a question, let me know again. Probably next week, it's probably going to be Tuesday, my guess, is we'll do the Oaks preview. Emily Gulfstream and myself review the Oaks, look at the plot. Oh, that's what I wanted to show you. Just got a quick update of the Kentucky Derby plot. Now, I just got a note early this morning that I guess early voting's out. So that'll change the plot again. And once we get down to whatever it is, 20 horses or 19 horses, whatever it is, will be final. But again, this is kind of currently the way the plot looks. Early voting's in here because that was a light scratch. You see, it's a very well behaved. Very rarely do you see a Kentucky Derby plot, and again, you don't see anything for a mile and a quarter, right? Because they've never run that. That's why the surface and distance is the way it is. All the horses to the right, all the triangles. That means they just don't plot. But you can see from left to right, the diagonal, it's right on the line. And so the reason the plot fit is red is obvious because we don't have a surface distance plot. So that just leaves ambiguity. But still, it still looks like a pretty well-aligned plot. we showed the heat map in our video. I would you go to our, this channel and take a look at our Kentucky Derby preview. We talked about heat maps, and in previous Kentucky Derbies, where were the horses placed that won, finished second, third. And one of the things that's really negative is being a circle in quadrants 3 and 4, which is down here. This is quadrant 3, this is quadrant 4. So horses like the 13, the 14, the 22 right now, the 12, they, from a historical standpoint, would be up against it. But again, I would evaluate and look at the other form. There might be reasons for that. But just typically, there's only been one horse to finish in the superfecta since 2009, since we've been doing these plots, 2008, one of those, 2008 or 2009. And that was the horse that won in quadrant 3, and that was Mind That Bird. So, yeah, right. So, I mean, that tells you a lot. So there was a lot of entries, a lot of circles in quadrant 3 and 4 over the last, decade and a half, and that's basically the history with that. Squares do very well, even in quadrants 1 and 2, but a quadrant 1, 2 square could finish in the money and could even win if they're in quadrant 1. So that's the other thing. Yeah, most of the winners, if you're going to win as a circle, it's got to be quadrant 1, and squares could win elsewhere. But quadrant 1 has done very well in years past at the Kentucky Derby. Okay, so that's the Derby plot. That'll get updated, and what we'll do is, sometimes it's hard to see who's in what. We'll lay that out for you in the package and show you where each of the horses, their circle, square, and quadrants, 1, 2, and 3 will be laid out, and then you can, we'll map it out against like the heat map and show you kind of who has an advantage and disadvantage, just from a plot perspective. And then we'll do our handicapping and our analysis of the race, and maybe some wagering recommendations, or just for information purposes. We're not trying to tell you what to bet, but maybe how to approach and strategize on a race. Okay, so Woodbine's 22 minutes out. That's a tough track, especially early in the meet, I find, just because you got all these layoff horses. So don't think I'm going to go there. I probably will go to Gulfstream because it's another track I do follow. And I think from a plot perspective, it's one of the best ones. I think it does very well in terms of predictability, or at least the handicapping. Analytically, I love using the plot of Gulfstream. I don't know. I guess their first race starts at 1:05. So it's 5 minutes after the Belmont race, which is 8 minutes out now. So I'll look at this one. And the one thing I noticed too about Gulfstream, the synthetic track has been playing fairly consistent and good. I really no complaints with it. I think you're getting some fair racing. It does race more like turf. The horses are usually more bunched. I think it was a good idea, and I really wish more tracks probably follow suit. I think Belmont will, and I think that's the right move for them, especially in the winter months, or even the spring when you can get some really wet weather. So yeah, I think it was a good move, and I applaud Gulfstream for coming up with it. I was a little bit in the winter meet, was a little bit perturbed though about the way they sometimes would really cut off turf races, I think, prematurely early and move them to synthetic, and I didn't think they needed to do that. But overall, I give them a plus for effort, and I think again for the safety of the horses, I think it's a great idea, because fact is there are less catastrophic breakdowns on synthetic tracks than dirt tracks, period. I mean, the data proves that out, so no one could argue. I've heard all kinds of things in terms of muscle pulls and stuff on synthetic tracks, but athletes get muscle pulls. They shouldn't die. So I think that's an important point. And so I think the move to more, synthetic tracks with a combination of the turf and dirt is great. And I think it should evolve that way, as opposed to the way it was done initially, where they kind of ripped everything out, and that was the wrong approach. And I think if they let things evolve, we'd be in a much better place. But no, we'll get there. I'm optimistic. Okay, so race 1 at Gulfstream. It's a synthetic race, and you got you got a red plot fit. It's just a little messy. You can see. Let's see from a quad percentage wise, how it fits in those. Looks like the 3 kind of plots the best, kind of high in quadrant 1, a square in quadrant 2. Versus a track profile. This is a race where it's a maiden claimer 12. Let's see if we got any notes that kind of stand out here. So this is kind of a low-level maiden claiming race, not one you want to really kind of get excited about. But 2 things. One is that the 3 plot's okay. 2, the 3 price is 10-1 in the morning line. 3, this horse has had trouble in his last 2 races and still has one of the best last out OptixLIVE with 73. So, I don't know. It sounds pretty good to me. Let's look at the grid, see if we can pull anything else up. So, mildly interesting. This is kind of what I do. Is kind of look for little angles, little optics angles, and then try to kind of hone in, take a look at the board. Obviously the morning light could be off on this horse, or I could be missing something. I guess the big thing about this horse is, okay, let's look at this horse. It's coming right back. He's kind of 14 days, 7 days, 15 days. Ran his top figure despite lacking room, being wide, was against the flow. Trouble to start, trouble in his last race. It's, the range of 70 to 76. At 73 last time, which I think, if I remember correctly, is one of the best last out. So I'm going to use filters here, and I'm going to look at the last 45 days of these horses. You can see that he's got the 75. The one has a 75 and he has a 73. So, he fits on numbers. Clear that out. There's a bunch of filters here, so if you don't want to kind of use these things, they're kind of helpful. You're going to drop down, you can go through all these different ones. So they're warming up at Belmont. 5 looks pretty good on a warm-up. But I'm always leery of those warm-ups. Some people, I just found, doing just a little bit of work on warm-ups with one track, with one exception, where the warm-ups actually were a negative. But the 5 physically looks good. So that was a horse that I thought about including, because he's the horse that comes out of the same race as the 2. So that's, we've talked about the 1 and the 3. 5 is another horse that just might consider as one of the other backups, just basically how he looks out on the track right now. Okay, so this is a pretty poor race. You got the 9. This time on Gulfstream race 1. Look, 9 ran pretty good in his debut. It was wide. Might get wide again. Yeah, we'll take a look at the board when it comes time. Race 1. Race 2. Race 2. Let's go back to race 1 because we're 2 minutes out at Belmont. Yeah, the 2 is 2 to 5. I don't know. That's short. Too short for me. The 1's come down a little bit. He's 9 to 2. And the 3 is 6 to 1. Yeah. Like I said, the 5 looked pretty good. He's 8 to 1 right now. He plots terribly, but you really can kind of excuse his first 2 races. The first race, he was in traffic. Let's look at the extended comment. Speed's backing up late on, and this guy was trying to find some clear space. Okay, so he had horses backing up into him in his debut. We thought he might be better suited for the turf based on his action. And then in the second race, he was against that track bias that we talked about, the same race as the 2 was in. So, yeah, I just, based on what I'm looking at him on track, I would probably include them. If I'm trying to beat the 2 too, I want to use him, So But I think the 1 is the most, most likely to beat this horse, right? Just again, to reiterate why, I mean, this horse debuted with an 81, just on projection alone. And that was at Belmont on his only time on a fast track. If you just kind of project that race, forward in terms of improvement from 2 to 3, this horse is, in the 90s, close to 90. So that would give him an advantage over a horse that ran an 86 last time. And I don't know if this horse is really going to improve because he just got a perfect trip on a day when horses that were forwardly placed did well and couldn't get it done. He was kind of like right there in the stretch. Could have been the bias too. The speed didn't let it go by. But still, now he's going to go a little bit longer. 2 to 5 is just too short for me on a horse that got a perfect trip last time. So we're going to take our shot against him. 1, 3, 1. I mean, really is the key. A little bit of 3 and 5. The other horse that I talked about being a little bit he's 8 to 1 though, and I just you start questioning yourself. But this horse, the thing I like about the 5 is he's never lost at maiden claiming level 2, which is not the case with the 3 and the 6. And I mean, the 6 is lost below. His form looks bad. He gets a major kind of jockey upgrade here to Ortiz for a barn that's 3 for 3 so far at the meet. So something to watch there. Yes, that barn is a hard read for me. And I'm not big on trainer stats, but I kind of look at trends, because I'm watching these races every day at Belmont and this track I'm following, and I just kind of look for trends because I think trainers cycle like horses. They kind of seem more like, I don't know if it's a program, some of the more major ones where they start heating up all at the same kind of time, and then they kind of peter out. And instead of looking at long-term statistics, I think the value is more on this trending statistics, like who's cycling right now, because you can take advantage of really high percentage trainers who are not horses aren't running at the same level as they normally do. So that's kind of one of the things I kind of do. Some trainers point to certain meets. Some trainers are very good at boutique meets. They do very well there. So I'm more of that than. I'm looking for, the horses. He's really good with third off a layoff, stretching out, putting blinkers on. I don't even know what that means, to be honest with you. I think the trainers wouldn't even understand. It's not like they train for, oh, yeah, I'm going to put them on. I mean, lots of times they're trying. Sometimes the spots they're putting horses, they're putting them there because the owner wants to run. So some of those things could be misleading. But what can be misleading is when, a barn is just kind of firing all cylinders or not. Even within a day, I mean, you watch a Breeders' Cup or a big day event, you can see early in maybe some of the races, some of these trainers aren't firing well. You might want to, short them in some of the bigger races. That's what I've seen sometimes. Or, their horses are running in some of the earlier races and you want to really double down on them in the big race. That to me is useful. Same thing with jockeys too. I think sometimes it's confidence. They get confident early in the card, and they're just better late. Okay, they're in the gate at Belmont now. I'm going to take a look at this race, and let's see what happens. Okay, they're out of the gate. Looks like the 1 is broken on top. 2 is pressing. It looks like the 1's cleared off. Oh no, he's gonna get some pressure on the 2. So this is going to be the race right here. I think 3 is stalking on the inside. Now the 1's a little bit more in a comfortable position. It's got about a length on the 2. The 5 and 3 are stalking in 3rd and 4th, and then the 6 is at the back. 24-43, I think that's a reasonable first quarter for the 1. So 3 is kind of like moved into just a soft pocket kind of position with the 5, covering him. 2 is pressing on the turn. Now they're mid-turn. 2 started to put some pressure. 2 looks like he's got some run, but the 1 hasn't really relinquished the lead yet. Half a length. 3 is stalking inside 5. Okay, so now they're late on the turn. 48-37 for the half. Now the 2 is starting to put the pressure on the 1. So Let's see if the 1 could hold him off. Looks like the 2's got an advantage. 2's kind of coming in. 1's battling back, but it looks like the 2's got him. Yeah. Well, 1's not dead yet. Coming back on him. No, not gonna happen. And he gave him a fight, but he had a favorite 1. So 2-1, and it's that 6 did run him. It's that Barnett just firing. The 3 finished 4th. The 5 just no good. So it was 2-1, 6-5, 6-3 in race 1. All right, well, that's what you do when you try to beat these guys, but couldn't get separation that I thought he could get early. And the 2 ran a good race, just kind of hung on the 1. And a 6 really again on rounds. And 3 was close. He was only beaten maybe 2.5, 3 lengths. He ran a good race, kind of a even pace race. All right, so we're gonna make a pick 4 now. We tried to beat that horse and didn't work out. 2 was just too strong. Good ride too, and that's Dylan Davis, who's really riding at a good level. I think he was the at Aqueduct. He had won the jockeys standings. He was head of jockey standings at Aqueduct's Winters meet. And he's kind of continued his good work here at Belmont. Looks like he's getting the mounts. You don't have all the cast of characters in yet at Belmont probably, so things will change when Saez comes back and all the rest. So, but right now he's getting good mounts. He's taking advantage of it. So 2-1-6-3. Okay, let's see what else is out there. I'm going to go to Laurel. Laurel's at race 2, 10 minutes out. Let's go to Gulfstream because Gulfstream should be. This was a race where we thought the 3 looked a little bit interesting in race 1. See what his odds are. Yeah, they're at the gate right now. 7-1 this 3. I mean, it just seems to be a decent price. Looks like the 12 is another one that plots well. He's 3-1. The 8, looks like he plots okay on. He's 30-1. Yeah. I just his recent form. Yeah, not impossible. I mean, the plot's pretty good for a horse that's 30-1. That's for sure. And then the 11 is 7-2. So really, the horses that 10 is another one. So they just based on the plot, 3, 10 look like they are plot well versus their price. Okay, so 3 is 8-1, but 10 is 8-1. I think those are from a plot perspective, those are the best value horses in race 1 here. So we'll see. They're in the gate. It's gonna be interesting. Who gets the lead here. It's kind of messy. So looks like the 1 and the 4 going for the lead, and then the 11 is 1, 4, and 11. These are the early pace. So the 1's got the 1 hit the rail on the turn there, but he's got the lead, and with the 4 chasing. So the 1's in the lead. 12's caught wide in like 5th. 3's covered up mid pack with the 8 alongside him. So 1's clear. 1's got a blown lead right now. So we're going to see if he can last. He tends to, I think we'll see because he's got this big circle in quadrant, 3 in standard distance. So distance could be his issue, right? Maybe he's more of a sprinter type. They're really kind of stacked up behind him. So it's going to be all about the trip. 3's making a middle move here. He's looking for. He's really kind of is slicing through horses. The 11 is taken. 1's done. So now the 3 he's made his move. I don't know if he can extend it. He's up to 2nd, along with the 12. But the 11's made the lead here. And the 3's going after him. Let's see what happens here. Okay, looks like the 3 is gonna go by the, well, 11. No, he's not. I don't think he's gonna get by this 11. This 11 really rebroke. So it's gonna be 11-3. I think the 10 is gonna hang on. Oh, it's close. 10 might have hung on for the play. So we had 2 of our 3 in the trifecta there. The 3 at 8-1 and the 10 at 8-1, and the 11 was the other one, which was a logical horse. So, yeah, I think the plot was okay there for those horses. Pretty easy read. Yeah, that was not a lot of handicapping, right? We just kind of went to that race, but 3 ran a big race. He kind of had to make a move and then extend it. So might have moved a tad too early, but it's hard to tell. I mean, he kind of got caught in traffic. And it was close to a show, though. 7 was the other horse closing on the 10, but I don't know who got it. But good race for the 11. October time. Okay. Yeah, he was a dropper. Okay, that was a Gulfstream. Let's go back to the Laurel. And up the five minutes out of Laurel. Let's look at race 2 here. See where they just again. And one of the things you can do, especially if you're playing simulcast, you don't really have to handicap that hard. Take a look at the plot and just kind of compare the odds to the horses and where they are. So the 7 on surface and distance, and on standard looks good. He's 10-1, so he's kind of a little bit interesting. 3, 4, and 8. 3 is 11, the 4 is 9-2, and the 8 is 9-2. Let's see who the favorite is in this race. Okay, the 5 is the favorite. Kind of a deep closer. Not sure. The speed range, the pace may be fast. This is on turf. Did they take it off? No. Okay, it's on turf. Let's look at the track profile. Let's look at quad percentage. Again, this compares where the horses plot versus the track profile against each other. I know that's a whole lot, but instead of you trying to look at, is this a good spot for this horse or not? It only means anything if you're, relationally, you're comparing them to the other horses in the race. So, like you can see, like the 6 has a very bad one. The 3 has a good one. So the 3 is 11-1. Okay, and let's look at the favorite. The 5 is just okay. The 7 looks good from a plot perspective comparison. So I mean, he's only plotting that, on standard. So we got to look if he's got some kind of turf form, right? So let me go down here. Yeah, so he let me go to the grid, but he may not have any turf form, and that might be, he may plot okay here, but if he has no turf form, kind of, or no indication that he might like the turf, then he might be not a good play. But 3, just from a plot perspective, plot's pretty good. On both, and he's currently 12-1. Let's go to 4 on the 7, and then I'll come back to the 3 and see if there's something else I'm missing on him. So 7, it's going to be the first time he's on turf, so it's question mark. I don't see anything in his form that suggests that's what he's going to want to do. We would see a turf projection sometimes. Okay, so the 3's coming off a long layoff, and this horse ran poorly against the flow last time at Laurel. Hasn't been some because he's a turf horse. So that's why we probably haven't seen him. The range is 69, 75. Can this horse, even off the layoff, this horse probably can, run well. I mean, both times that he ran off the layoff previously, he was on the wrong surface. Yeah, horses, bettors shy away from layoff horses, but when they, it all depends on the form of the other horses in the race. And if they catch a field that's, either, they have advantage from, pace, speed, or even a suitability. In this case, I think let's take a look at I'm going to just do. I'm going to filter on the turf races. So I'm going to just. I mean, you could use these standard filters. I'm just so used to doing this myself. But there's filters for all these different things. So I'm going to look at turf routes. And I'm just going to sort on speed figure. Yeah, so you see the 3 come up here, the 3 and the 1. So the 3 is competitive on numbers here at turf. So yeah, I think he's shown a lot of value. The 1, the 5 are they're kind of finishers, but they clock down in quadra 4. Not it's okay. So if they mix it up and the 3 gets some pressure, maybe the 1 and 5 come running here late. So I guess 3 over the 1 and 5. The 1 looks like a better price right now. The 5 is a 7 to 5. I wouldn't want any part of that in this race. So maybe the 1 and even the 2 plots decently. Let's see if that horse. Oh, that horse is very interesting. Let's just look at the 2. Oh, yeah. Okay, so the 2 is an interesting horse. Lacked room, was against the flow last time. Time before he ran a good 80. This horse, yeah. So to me, yeah, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna kind of focus. If you're playing maybe like tries or something like that. I mean, maybe trying to key the 3 with the 1 and the 2, or if you're playing, multiple race wages, they're all usable. I mean, the 1 is the shortest of them, but 2 is 6 to 1 and 3 is 17 to 1. So those look viable and viable alternatives to an 8 to 5 on the 5. Who, I don't see really the big advantage he has of the other ones I mentioned. Oh, by the way, let me just show you too on this too. I forgot to show you really key. I mean, this might be my key horse versus the 3. Take the turf races around. Clear filters. He's got his last 2 races. My machine's slow. Pardon me. This horse has been against the bias and better than luck in Jersey's. Getting back to his preferred track, look for the 2 here. I kind of like the 2. Again, 2 excuses. His most recent races, fast enough. He's probably better on turf. His only win came on turf. On this track at this distance, a little bit more than this distance. But yeah, he looks like a solid contender here. Number 2. Closer to the heart, and yeah, we'll see. 1, 2, 3. 2 looks like the value play. 3 looks like a value play. 1 looks like a most likely kind of exotic 1, 2, 3 horse. So play around with that. They're in the gate. Looks like the 4 is acting up a little bit in the gate. I got the gate open for the 9 too. It's kind of circling behind the field. Again, if you want to learn more about optics too, one of the things I suggest is, look at our videos, look at our race of the days, and also look at the info. Lots of good info there. Especially if people have been using it a little bit, may give you even a little bit more insight if you read through some of the documentation. It's easy to read, a lot of pictures, a lot of graphics, a lot of it's self-explanatory. But sometimes. If you watch things and you read things, it just reinforces some of the learning you have, and you keep learning and learning and learning. But trust the information. Not always going to be like give you the winner, but it's over the long run. We think it's the most effective way to handicap. All right, so they broke out of the gate. 3 is forward, the 2 is forward. So is the 6 and the 8 both forward. It looks like the 2 is taken back. He could be sitting a good trip. 3 looks a little rank. He's on the lead. Now the 6 is really wanted the lead, really committed to the lead. And he's a 30 to 1 shot low left flow. So 3 is going to sit. 8's going to sit. They're kind of spread out right now. They went 22-4. That's too fast. Okay, way too fast. So we'll see what happens here. They're really spread out. He's trying to slow this horse down, but this horse is kind of keen. The 3 is sitting in a clean trip, tracking that one, but might be getting sucked into a fast pace here. Then you got the 8, and the 2 is kind of sitting chilly on the inside of those horses. 46 and 75. That's slowed it down, but still too fast. You know, they're trying to tactically, they're just trying to run the field off their feet here with the 6. 3's in kind of chase mode now. He's kind of in trouble. The 2 is moving up the inside while the 8's moving on the outside. So they're moving as a team. 6 is still there. 2 is going to get first run here. Well, 3's still hanging around. But the 2, oh, here comes the 4. But the 2's got inside. Oh, looks like the 4. 2's kind of working. And here comes the 5. It's going to roll by everybody. So that 5 go off the pace. Yeah, it was too fast a pace. The 2 really, I mean, the horse in the front really kind of stretched the field to 6. They just kind of committed to the lead and just screwed up the race a little bit, set it up for the 5. So I didn't expected a fast pace, didn't expect that kind of fast pace. I mean, that was nuclear for this field. And left the 2. That's why the 2 was wrong. He ran a decent race, actually. I mean, when you looked at horses that were left that were closer to the pace, but 3 kind of collapsed. The 1 got in some traffic. The 5 was just rolling down the lane. So 5-4. I think watching the slow motion. Yeah, 5 got this race. Good time ride by Forrest Boyce. Solid journey person. Okay, let's go back to Belmont. Let's go back to Laurel for a second. Yeah, I just wanted to see the break here. Yeah. We finished 5-4-8-2-1. Okay. I would watch that too next time. Maybe get some different pace dynamic. I mean, typically, actually, a horse, you know, yeah, he might be, you know, might be a little bit more effective, you know, a little bit further. I think the pace was too fast. Right? He gets a different pace dynamic. That's horse, especially that race won't, you know, lure him to, even if he finished like 4th or 5th in that race. I don't think he finished 4th actually. I don't think it'll lure betting next time. So he's another horse I still think is on the sneaky side. So close to the heart, I just keep in mind there that Laurel next time out. Still think he might have some upside, you know, with his 3rd race. If you know, with his racing back on turf, I think he's just a better turf horse. It's obvious. Okay, Belmont race 2. Yeah, this is a race. I mean, I think the odds reflect. I'm a little surprised though that the 2 is 5-1 here. I guess just a layoff. I guess people are just leery of him. The 4 is the actual favorite at 9-5. I didn't look at the doubles, but let me see if I can go back and look at the doubles to see who's the morning line favorite here. Yeah, so the 4 is the favorite in the double, but he's tied with the 7. So 4 and 7 are going to be close, my guess is, but then post time comes. So no value in either one of them. They both could win. If I'm playing to pick 4, like I said, you know, my pick 5 was 2, 4, 6, 7 here. And try to get past the race, and that's it. I just, you know, don't have a strong opinion any other way. But it looks like, you know, the 2, 4, and 7 are taking the money. You know, so. Again, I don't know how the pace there is going to work on here. If you look at the plot, which I have up here, is the 4 looks like the speed of the speed, but I don't know, you know, 6. I mean, the 6 looks like early speed with the 4. The difference we have is when they go to the second call, looks like the 4 has an advantage, but then it kind of fades. So what I'm anticipating is the 4 and 6 going to hook in this race. And I think probably sets it up for the 7, but there's no value here. There's no value in this race. Going 2, 4, 6, 7, hope for the best. I get the best price. And then if I'm feeling a little bit strong on the 7, maybe I just key the 7 in this race so I get some extra tickets on him. So maybe I have a ticket where I single the 7 with, kind of the horses I talked about in the big 5. But I don't know. That's one way to approach it. Let's see. So that's that. There was a race I did want to look at Belmont. I'm not going to be on the air for this, but it might be something to look at. I think it was race 7, but I'm going to. Yeah, race 7. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I thought this was an interesting race. This is a race where, as a plot, where the pattern tends to favor horses that are off the pace and squares. Okay. So you could just see the contention in this race. You see all those horses in kind of quadrant 1, kind of bunched up. The other thing is that the speed rating is high. So they're above, a lot of horses above the par line, so they go fast early. And then the other thing to note is the run styles. You have 2 horses that need the lead types, the 2 and the 7. To me, this screams off the pace runner. So I'm focusing on the squares, which would be the 4, 5, 8, and the 1 and the 1A. Okay. And the one that, just looking at the 1, the 4, 5, and the 1A. They're all good prices. So, I mean, I just would be kind of looking at, I'm going to look at their form now, but I just think that they're all, to me, is a race where you might want to take a shot with an off the pace runner. 1, 4, 5, 8, it fit the bill, at least initially, from a plot perspective. But let's go to their form and see if we can, distinguish anything different amongst the 4 of them. This is a route. So, want to keep that in mind when we're looking at horses for them. It looks like the 1's getting some class relief. So, I mean, he's a horse that should help. Don't like that he had no finish to the last race. It was 9 furlongs. Kind of back to a 1-turn race. Doesn't look like he likes 9 furlongs. He's run okay. But, I mean, his last 2 9-furlong races could have been just the company he was keeping. But, it looks like this horse on his best is like 80s. This could be a fast pace. So the other thing I want to look at when I look at the 1 and look at all these horses is how this horse competes with a fast, race shape. So let's just look at fast race shapes because that's what I'm anticipating. So this horse, I don't like this too much. I don't think he's run really well with fast race shapes. So that might make him a little bit less likely. And I think he's probably going to, being that they're the entry, is going to be kind of the lowest price. Let's look at the other part of the entry. Oops, am I on the right hand? Oops. Somehow I got on the, hope I'm on the right race here. I think I might have got off here, so I'm going to reload the grid. A little tricky. I'm on a slower machine than I normally work on, so I'm actually faster than that, if you can believe it. I'm clicking too quickly. Got to be more patient. But you do want to. Yeah, okay. Let this load. Okay, so now I'm going to look at, Yeah, so, I mean, I haven't been wowed with these fast-paced races. Okay, so let's go to the other part of the entry is the okay, let's go to 1A. Okay, so this horse He's not in great form. His numbers look below range. Let's see him on fast-paced races. That matters. Don't like. Okay. So the one, I'm not crazy about the one. I mean, if I gotta be honest, I'm not crazy about the one or the 1A. So let's keep going. So we had I think it was the 4. Go back to the plot. No, not the 4. So it was, yeah. So the 4 on standard plots is a circle. That's why he's the black here. Let's look at the 5. So you get the 1 and 1. Look at the 5. I think that's really where I want to be anyway. So let's look at the 5. Let's clear this filter out. So Pier 40. Okay. So here's a horse that his last effort. I didn't even know what these kind of races are. It looks like a stakes, but it's not really a stakes. I have no idea what it is. But you notice the comment other. Anytime you see an other, you really want to make sure you look at the extended comment. I mean, you should look at the extended comments no matter what, but also look at it. So what this says, it was not a full cook, but this horse ate some mud. Yeah, so I would expect that this horse could improve better than that, off of that type of race. Let's look at this horse when he gets a fast pace to run it. Okay, so he ran 8. I mean, if you consider the weather race and sloppy, maybe he just doesn't like sloppy track. Didn't run well in this race when he got the fast pace, but he's a horse that, on his day could win given the fast pace scenario. It looks he might be a tad cheap, but sometimes I overlook some of the stuff if racing pace dynamics kind of set up for these horses. Let's look at if there's anything unique to Belmont with this horse. Yeah, he's won at Belmont before. Again, if you kind of just focus in on the fast track race, it was pretty good. I mean, he did okay on a sloppy track. That was a maiden breaker, so but still, this is a horse that he's going to be a big price, and maybe a horse you might want to include in all your kind of exotics. Pier 40, I think he's going to get the right pace scenario. And it's good to see Jose Ortiz take the mount here, So we're kind of looking a little negative on the 1, and then I guess the 4 was the other horse. I might as well look at the 4 because we said 1, 4, 5, and 8. I think is the 8 one of them? Or just take 1, 4, 5. Yeah, 1, 4, 5. I'll look at the 8 too. 1, 4, 5. So the 4. I don't knock this horse. The only thing I knock is his winnability. This horse may be better suited for underneath. And let's look at him on fast pace races. He's okay. I think him maybe more for underneath than on top. So he might be value in the exotics. And then the 8 was the other one. They're about 3 minutes out of race 2 at Belmont. So let me go there. The 8 was the other horse. Okay, so horse is just, yeah. Horse looks a little cheap to me. So for me, race 7, take a look at some of the other horses, the speed horses, the 6 and the 7, but and the 2. So, because you want to put them in the slots, see which one kind of suits you best. But yeah, I think the 5 is the key for me, and then using them with the 4. The 4, yeah, 5 and 4. Okay. Yeah, the other thing I might as well look at too here is since we're looking at them, let's look at the speed horses and see which one we think could maybe withstand this pressure and hang on. So I'm going to do the same thing I did with the closer types. I'm going to look for fast races, fast pace races, and see how these horses, did. So And we talked about the 1. The 2 was in one fast-paced race, not much. 3, not much. The 4, we talked about. So again, to me, 4 and 5, okay, they do okay in fast-paced races. 6, okay, whatever. But it just hasn't been in them. 7, okay, mostly on the maiden level. So 6 and 7 to me right now look like the best of the early pace ones. So you might want to include those in that race. That was race 7 at Belmont, by the way. Okay. Let's go back. We're almost in. They're approaching the gate for race 2. Yeah. Again, I was just basically. I think I was 2, 4, 6, 7 to stay alive in this race, and hoping like I get a price out of here because in a pick 4. But no strong opinion in this race. It's a little bit iffy on how this race is going to play out from a pace perspective. Are the 4 and 6 going to hook? Is the 4 going to clear? Is the 6 going to clear? Because there's a scenario where if the 6 breaks better, like just for whatever reason, he potentially can back the 4 down, and then the 4 is not going to close, and then the 6 could maybe re-break or something like that. That's a possibility. I'm not saying it's likely. But the 6 probably has the most gate speed. He's the E in this race too. So obviously he's coming out of some races that from a early pace perspective looks slow on the, let's look at him. It seems like he's been running, this is back on the turf going around and around, but he was, last time he did that, he ran a B. Okay. Then his last 2 races, maybe you can forgive him because they're on dirt. So, yeah, I'm telling you, if the 6, if they're tactically smarty, I would try to get this 6 out of the gate first. Maybe you can back the 4 up and wire this field. So again, 2, 4, 6, 7 for me. And I said if the 4 and the 6 do hook, the 7's, to me a better value. Well, I guess he's the favorite now, so there's no value in this race. The most value, I think, right now, probably the 6. Well, the 2's not, I would expect the 2, to be bad if he was live. It doesn't look like he's getting, bet. To me, he would be the favorite if, I guess he was coming off the layoff. He was, thriving. You would expect, them to get more backing. So let's say they're in the gate at Belmont, race 2. Here we go. And they're off. And looks like they're trying to commit to the lead with the 4. 4 got the lead over the 6. So that might be to the 6's detriment. And I don't understand that. It looks like he's holding the 6, the jockey. That wouldn't be my tactic, but maybe they know more than I do. 4 looks like he's kind of got an easy lead. 7 is stalking. Look like he's in other words kind of being held up. He's closer than I thought he's going to be. That's probably good for him. But bar 14 has got the clear lead. Now the 2, 6 is kind of in a clear second spot. 5 is close up, kind of in a covered up position alongside the 7 here. Okay. But 4 clearly, 2. He's got a hole, but it looks like the horse has been able to kind of relax a little bit. 4's going for it right now. He's probably mid-turn, trying to get a little more separation from the 6, but he's not doing it. 7 is starting to stalk. 2 looks like he's got some run behind horses. He's behind the 5 and the 7. Looks like he might have some run. We'll see. But the 4 is in a clear lead. The 6 is stalking. And now here comes the 7. 2 kind of slowed down. He's kind of trapped behind horses on the inside. And it looks like the 4 is still in front. 7 is going to probably not even get second. 5 had that good inside trip. So 4 went wire to wire. Yeah. See, that was the whole race. Who was going to get to the lead there had a big advantage. And I'm not saying the 6 would have won, but I just didn't like the tactics coming out of the gate, taking a hold of horse. Now, who knows if they hooked, maybe, it would have set up, and maybe the horse that finished second to 5, who had a pretty good trip, got an inside trip, might have won the race, but who knows? It could have changed the whole dynamic of the race. 2 looked like he had a run, but he just kind of maybe needed the race. He kind of and he was kind of like in traffic inside horses. Maybe got a little intimidated, in fact, he had a kind of like almost like, he wasn't aggressive. He couldn't be too aggressive trying to go inside the horse. The 5 kind of got over on him, and was able to outfinish him. So anyway, the 4. So we move on without the favorite. It was interesting. On board, terrible betting race for me. I mean, I just wasn't going to bet that race, and just even in the pick 5, I was playing to just get past that race and praying I would, not with a lot of confidence. Okay. We're going to go spanning the globe. Let's see what we got at Gulfstream. Oh, we missed the race. Okay, that was good. 4 to 5, 2 to 5 shot one, whatever. So let's go to Laurel. Looks like the 6 from the local handicappers. They like the horse. He's 5 to 1 currently. Oh, okay. So this is a 2-year-old race. Got no fool on these horses. Not interested. See Woodbine, where we're at on Woodbine. Okay. I told you I didn't like Woodbine early in the year. Still don't. Let me see. My colleague there, Emily Gulfstream, watches it. She has pretty good insight into let's see what she's looking at. Okay, she's got race 7. Got a handicap today for the, if you go, I guess it's online there. So anyway, she's on race 6 or something like that. Okay, so anyway, we got that. So it's race 2 at Woodbine. Let's look at the plot. Looks like they're betting the 3. Oh, okay, so the first. This is the time of year you get these 2-year-old. In the early races, you get a lot of these 2-year-old races come springtime. And it's usually not the best 2-year-olds. They're usually horses that are probably very precocious. They have some speed, but they're not kind of your classic types. Those horses usually get introduced around Saratoga Del Mar meets. When you see your better 2-year-olds. But early on, you get them at Keeneland, Woodbine, even San Diego. You get these 2-year-old races. Usually speedy types, and you do kind of need a good workout report. Or when you look at the works, you want a horse that's not worked a ton of race times. I mean, especially these horses. You're looking at horses maybe with some swift gait works. It's good to see a good 4-5 furlong race sometimes. Work, that's really good because there's some foundation there. And if you see one of those good foundation works with a quick gait work, that's usually good enough. Obviously, the money shows too in these races typically. And there's trainers that just, usually have them like the Wesley Boards of the world, and each of the circuits have theirs. So that's why they're really not a great, betting thing. Sometimes you have to deal with them if you're playing pick 5s and pick 4s and stuff like that. So whatever. Coming up on race 3 at Belmont. I'm gonna go back to Belmont because it just doesn't seem like there's much. Okay, so this is the race where let's see what they're gonna do with the one horse. Tough tickets, kind of looks like from a numbers perspective. He's got some strong. He's 4 to 5. He's getting hammered. I don't know. I'm gonna take a shot here, and I think the 5 is the one I mentioned, and also the 3, Noble Journey. And let me go back to people coming in late. Went over this race when I was reviewing the pick 5, and If there's any questions too, I don't know. You can send them to me. I guess you can send them right on this live thing. See if I can see them. See if there's any questions. Okay. Okay, yeah, I got some questions here. So let me just take a look at the questions first, and then we'll go to the case. Derby plot, who are the squares? It really hasn't changed that much from when we sent that out. So just, or go to, I think this is going to be on record. Just go back and look, and then buy the plot. I mean, it's worth it because it's going to be updated. So that was Charles B. And Greg says that 3 was best. I guess that was that race that we watched previously. Hi, John. Are you ever going to complete a manual scratch program in optics? Would love to do that. Just takes work, and it's just a matter of priority. We're a small company, and we're just doing enough to kind of keep up with the growth. But hopefully that'll be something that we incorporate. The person that has a manual scratch, everything's done automatically right now because it's pretty involved when we do it, because we got to do a lot of recalculations and so forth. But yeah, hopefully we'll have something, kind of, we do have to do some redesign on some of our back end stuff to be able to do that. Yeah, so as you know, scratches, it can change the pace dynamics consuming. Yeah, that's why I think we do it automatically. Okay. And then we have John Stafford that says 7 should be okay on grass. Hey, if you're going to put a comment, then just let me know, because I'm getting to this a little late, so just let me know what race and horse you're talking about, like what race and track. I'm assuming someone meant Belmont or whatever, so I don't know what race though. So anyway, we're going to race. So let me go back to race 3 and talk to you about this. So we have tough tickets, like I said, around a B+ in a maiden special at Tampa, and we don't see this horse. That's in a 3-year-old season. Now we don't see a horse for a year. And he comes back for Pletcher, coming out of the Clermont barn in a non-winners 2 lifetime. Ouch. Duels and fades. Okay, maybe he just kind of needed the race. So you would figure, maybe that's confidence. No, they're getting rid of this horse. Don't want to get rid of him. But this is not, non-winners 2 lifetime is not Pletcher's game. Now, this horse just may be talented enough to win, but not going to take all my money. I mean, not at even money or 4 to 5 or whatever he's going to be. He's going to be short because his double, the pick 3 is paying $890 with this horse. So there you go. So I'm against the 1. The horses that I consider, like the 2, just kind of looks like not in the form and kind of too slow for me. The 3 was interesting to me here, just because this horse can run fast enough to win. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. So okay. Yeah, I don't. That's right. So I mean, the 3 is fast enough. I just don't like his current form. The 4 was the horse that I was mildly interested in, because I thought this is a horse that might benefit if the 1 and the 5 hook up, because I thought the 5 was the other contender in this race, and probably, I thought about singling him, but just he's unsure, right? Because this horse showed a really good race in the second race, but it was against 20, but he won by 12 lengths and ran a big number, right? And that was the only, it was going a mile. So this was a horse that I kind of considered. And then the 4 was and the jockey, but got back to his win jockey. He was on the 1, so I don't know if that means anything, but it just sounds interesting to me. And the 4 was the other one, because I just thought the 4 could run fast enough. Has run in the 80s before, the mid 80s, which I think is going to take to win this race. And then if you can kind of, think that if he's going to get some pace around, they got some pace last time, but he closed some, wasn't too bad of a race, around a 67. But I think he can improve if he gets the right kind of setup. You can see when he gets a fast pace, he does better. You're around 84 fast pace. He got an average and then a very fast middle part of the race. So this is a horse that, given the pace dynamics, if they go that route, could be the one closing. So for me, it's I'm going to go with the 4 and 5 in here. 5 to try to maybe wire the 4 to, if the 5 hooks the 1, comes running late. So try to beat the 1. And if you have other ideas, and if you like, for instance, the 3 plots fairly well, use them too, or the 7. If you're gonna, especially if you're playing like a multi-race thing, if you're gonna beat the 1 here, and you're unsure, you think that's one of these horses, has a chance, use them, because you're going to get value no matter what. You're trying to beat a horse that's probably got about 75 to 80% of the tickets, is on 75 to 80% of the tickets. So that's important. Just looking from a quad percentage thing, again, the 1 doesn't plot, because this is going to be that's the other thing. It's going to be the first time this horse is going to route. So that's the other negative on this horse, right? Don't know, right? Who knows if he's going to route? The 2 doesn't plot well. The 3 is okay. Plot's pretty good. So again, that was the other horse I thought, I just don't. Right now he's 6 to 1. And, like I said, you might want to include the 6 plot's pretty good, comparatively speaking. 5, not so much, but again, kind of looking for that 1 race, if you can get back to that 1 race. And then the 4 is kind of okay. So again, if you're playing like, I guess this would only be pick 3, but in my pick 4, I was trying to beat the 1. And so in this race, I was using the, I'm going to use the 4 and 5. And that's what I was using in this race, in my pick 5 and pick 4. Pick 5 dead, pick 4 still alive. So let's see what we can do. We got to beat a favorite if you want to get a price anyway in this sequence. And I think this is a race to do. The other thing is, it'd be interesting to see the horse when he comes out on the track. I'm not an expert, but you can kind of tell, the horse looks good. Some of the paddock people are pretty knowledgeable. They take notes. I like that. It's one thing to say a horse looks good, but in reference to what? And I think sometimes with clocker reports, you have the clocker or the notes taker, in our case, the trip note taker, have to have the frame of reference. And it has to be like, hey, this horse looks this way, or is run this way, or in the past. So how's that compared to today, and how's that compared to the results? So if a horse has looked bad, and horse has gotten warm in the paddock, but he's won, in the past, it tells me, well, that's him, and it doesn't make a difference, even though it might be a negative. Generally speaking, it still may not be a negative because you got context. Same thing with a workout horse, right? You may see a horse just blazing, and that's how he runs, but doesn't make that the horse has already took any kind of major step up. But if a horse that's kind of usually a lazy workout horse and kind of throws in like a work that's like, whoa, you might want to give it a lot more consideration. And the only way you can do that is put the work in, right? Just like what we do with notes. I'm handicapping these races. I'm going to be doing the notes later on, right? I'm doing them and writing down, putting notes in my head as I'm doing this, because it gives context, right? I'm like, oh, this horse should have been in the lead, didn't get the lead, or, this was a soft field, tough field, the flow of this race. So all those things, those context things, are important when you're trying to get this much of an edge. So, so keep that in mind when you're looking at other people's stuff. Make sure they're doing the homework if you're not doing it. And if you're doing it, good luck, because it takes a lot of work and it's hard. So hopefully that's what we bring. And that's what we promise to do our best each and every day. I think our tagline is content and character. That's the 2 things that we try to instill in our work and in the team. Okay, so enough of that. Let's see what else is. I think we got Gulfstream is probably the next one after Belmont, or maybe just before Belmont. They're in the paddock. Okay, let's look at the Gulfstream race. Is it one of those 2-year-old races? I forget now. Okay, so this one's okay. So this is off the turf. This is, again, to me, I mean, it's just, I don't remember. Maybe it did rain at the end of the day yesterday. I know Florida. I lived there for a little bit. It kind of rains all the time. But I mean, it's like the sun is shining. Why they took this race off the turf? I don't know. All right, so that's some of the things that I kind of like get a little crazed about. But the good thing about it, you don't lose everybody. in the field. I mean, I think they just lost to 7, was the only scratch. So that's good. I mean, if this was dirt, it might be a different scenario. So we had a horse in here, the 3, that we thought might improve. Ran at Tampa last time. Now, Tampa's, several levels below. I should say several, maybe one. At this time of the year, maybe one level below. Early in the, when they're in that winter meet, there may be 2 to 3 levels below Gulfstream. But anyway, this horse got shuffled wide. It was a weak race, but still projecting improvement. But this horse is gonna have to improve a lot because he's gonna have to run kind of low 80s, high 70s to win. And so he's gonna have to improve. And there's other horses that maybe have a little have an edge. The one coming off a layoff. This is a horse that first race was on synthetic, looked like a key race. And then they tried this horse on turf and was part of a really fast pace and kind of faded. Get the grid up because this race looks interesting enough to maybe dig in a little bit. The 2 is coming off, gets Alvarado, Nix. I think this horse is overbet. He's came out of San Diego, and then was kind of plotty. I mean, he's kind of one-paced. Was in maiden claiming races there. Ships in. I think the connections. They're playing the connections here, so he's 3 to 1. And then the 4 is the favorite, who's lost below this level. I don't get that. I don't get it. Maybe the. I don't get it. In fact, it looks like First.com, who does first bet, who does a line. It's got this horse says they're pick 2. They don't have. I looked at their probability; it's not as low. It looks like they got this horse about 3 to 1. It's 7 to 5 right now. I didn't look at the double, so I'm not sure. But that horse doesn't seem like a horse that I want at that price. So 2 and 4 look a little vulnerable to me. So maybe a race to take a shot at. I think the 1 is mildly interesting for the fact that comes out of a key race in his debut when got caught, like just kind of faded, but that looked like a fast race. Less than 2 lanes separated the field. Came back at a turf race and just went too fast, too early. See the very, very fast speed rate. I mean, race shape. It gets back to synthetics fast enough, with a little improvement. Come off a 147-day layoff for Nix, who has the 2 horse too. So I mean, I prefer the 1 over the 2 in this case. The 3 we talked about a little bit, so he may be a little bit sneaky, coming out of the Tampa race, but that was on turf against synthetics for the first time. So he might be usable. The 4 talked about being a little bit vulnerable. 5 looks like a dirt horse who looks to be slow. The 6 looks like a turf horse. So this is his, going to be his first time on synthetic. Been against the flow a couple of times. Looks fast enough. And then the 8 has had trouble last time before ran a good race on the turf. Debut was sprinting, got slow out of the gate. So the only concern about the 8 is is just his early positioning. Sometimes he doesn't. So I'm not crazy about his plots. So for me, 3 and 6 are interesting in this race, based on their value, 14 and 6 to 1. Yeah, I guess still, the 1 is logical to me too. 7 to 2. Like him a little better than the 2. They're starting to tighten up in terms of price, but 4 is still holding as the favorite with 3 minutes out. Yeah, so I don't know. I would see how to work, either the 6 or the 3. Let me go to the 3 last race at Tampa just to see how that race. It's only been 22 days, so I don't think it's come back. This is what I do: is I double click the run line so that it brings up the plot from that race, and then what I do is I go to the grid just to see first of all, I look at the plot just sometimes just to see where the winners can look like. The winners in the first and second place winners came from quadrant 1, but it was like a race that looked like it had a lot of horses trying to turn for the first time. What you would expect kind of in a main special race. Then I try to look at anything greater than the day of the race. That means horses that come back. Two horses have come back so far. One horse came back at Tampa in a main race, kind of improved by 4 points. The other one improved a lot more, but dropped into the main claimer. So, I don't. It looks like a legitimate, right? Like in terms of the time, legit. But this horse has kind of improved a lot, to get there. The 6 is lost below these levels, but the one thing I'll say about this horse, he hasn't gotten race flow. I'm not sure he's going to get it today, but he might. I mean, it's 43 is the speed rating, so he may get some flow. I just, it's a messy race. Think the 1 is, logical. If he can kind of get back to that debut effort, he wins the race. But he's no cinch. 7-2 seems logical, and hoping that the 3 or the 6 can run into the number here. 6 is starting to tighten at 5-1. 3 is starting to drift. He's 14-1. So that's that. 4 is still steady the favor, 1 minute out, 8-5. We'll see that. Okay. Let's see what it. Okay. See what they have to sort of switch. Almost at the gate at Gulfstream. Go back to Belmont. See how far out we are. Okay, so they're in the paddock. Yeah, I didn't get a look in the paddock, which is I'll look. I'll come back. I'm going to watch the Gulfstream race, and I'll come back to the warm up at Belmont. I'm just going to take a quick 5-minute break, and I'll be back just before that. Actually, give me a minute. I'll be back for the race at Gulfstream. And I am back. And so everyone's looking forward to the Derby coming up next week. Hopefully, it should be an interesting race. Again, I'm probably going to do the Oaks with Emily Gullickson, review that Tuesday, I'm guessing. And the Derby looks, here were some of the questions. I didn't realize it. Okay. And the Derby, should be, the Derby PP should be up on no later than Tuesday morning, I guess, because I think they're coming in Monday night, so we got to do some processing. So, just the plot grid notes kind of stuff for the Oaks and Derby, I think should be available Tuesday. So you can get some early handicapping. And the focus report will be available to those who purchase it the day before the race that will be run. So Friday's races will be available Thursday evening, and for Friday night, you'll get the Saturday focus report for the Derby day. Full card. Lots of good, chock full of information. So if people want to know where our horses are in plots, you'll find out by that report. And it's been cool. In fact, I think other than like, well, it's been a little strange the last couple of years, especially with the disqualification of horses. One on the track, one off the track. So. That Baffert horse winning last year cost me some significant coin, but what are you gonna do? That's life. Okay, they're in a gate at Gulfstream, so let's see where we are on that. Okay, and they're off. The 3 is taken back there. So let me get to the plot so I can, yeah, 3 is kind of taken back off the pace. Looks like the 8 is contending early with the 1. 8's kind of cleared off here. So I guess the tactics is, let's try. The sources had trouble in start, so he made a pretty easy lead. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, this is the one this is the one I was kind of like a little iffy about because of the trouble starts in the last couple, but he got a clean start. He's out there winging it. The 1 is stalking as a clear second place runner, but pretty far away from the pace. Then you got the 4, the 2 on the inside. And this 8's really opened up a huge lead. It'd be tough to run down. He's starting to come back to the field a little bit here. Looks like the 1's going to get the first jump on this horse. I still maintain the lead. One has got a shot. Got a shot to run him down. It's going to be close. It's going to be close. It's going to be tight. He got there. The 1 got there. Ran him down. So the 1 won the race. Our 3 didn't run. Looked like he was making a move and kind of flattened out. He just left too much to do. But good tactics by the rider, the 8, Edgar Perez, to finally was able to get that horse clean break, and he ran pretty good. I think he hung on for second at a nice price. But the 1 was the winner. Ended up the second choice, kind of co-favorite. And that was the one we kind of liked better than the other Nick's horse. We thought he was the more likely horse to finish first or second. Before, again, those, a lot of people were on that 4. And he ran, I think, well, maybe it's going to be close. I think he ran 3rd. And then the 2, and then the 3. Okay. Well, that's that. 6 ran. Sure. All right, so that was Gulfstream. Let's switch back to New York. Let's see them warming up on the track here in New York. And then I think I'll take one more race, and then that'll be it. Anyone wants to look at a race. Again, people joined or in and out. Again, look at that race 7 in New York. But that was an interesting race. And this will be, I think this gets recorded, so you can check it out, record button. So there's 4 minutes out. Again, for the next 2 races, I'm going to probably cut a race 3 here and call it a day, unless someone else has something else they want to do. Races 4 and 5. Again, I was 2, 4, 5, 8 in race 4 and 2, 6, 8, 9 in race 5. And I thought in race 4, the interesting horse was the 4 at a price. I thought that was a horse you probably want to include in your exotics. And then in race 5, I thought the 8 was interesting as a speed alternative. These are all slots, first, second, and third, your tries. And those are the 2 points I think I'll make about races 4 and 5 before I cut out. We talked about it before, but again. So they're approaching the gate 3 miles. The coolest thing about Belmont is the size of it. So if you've never been, it's awe-inspiring because there's no track like it from a sheer size perspective. When you look across to the backside, it's like you can't even see the horses. That's how far it is. It's just amazing. And spent a lot of time there as a kid. And it's just, it's one of a kind. And the last time I was there, it's a little sad because it kind of looked a little worn. I've heard people that talked about it say it looks a little worn. And maybe, maybe with some of the changes going on, I know they put the new stadium in the parking lot there behind the paddock, then I'm told. Hopefully they infuse some money back into the track and into the facility. I would love to see a Breeders' Cup there again, because I think some of the best Breeders' Cups were there. Some of the coldest ever. It's one of those like Mark Twain things. The coldest Breeders' Cup I ever spent was Belmont. I froze one time. I just froze. But I mean, I think one of the most exciting races I've ever been. I've been to a lot of racing stuff, sort of Forgo and Secretariat, but I think one of the most exciting races I've ever been to was 2001. I was living elsewhere. I flew into New York to kind of support some family and friends, and we had some issues, family people that we knew that died in 9/11, and came home, rode, went out to Belmont for the Breeders' Cup to support that. Surreal with the mounted police on the infield and the snipers up on the roof. But that last day, I mean, the U.S. was taking a beating. Europeans and lots of others were winning most of the races until the last race, and then, tis now. I mean, it was one of the best calls ever, too, and a great race. So that one will be always etched in my brain. But, I haven't been there. I think St. Lane's Breeders' Cup was the last time I was at Belmont. So it must have been like 2004 or 5-ish. And it was kind of looking warm then. So I can imagine, they haven't done much to it. But still, it's a beautiful facility in terms of its sheer size and kind of in the middle of kind of a metropolitan area. It's pretty neat. So it's one of a kind. I mean, aesthetically in its day, the only track that kind of competes, the kind of tracks that compete with it would be San Diego, which is probably second to none. All right, so they're in the gate at Belmont. So I got a 4 looks good. Race 6 contentious from Carmelo. Thanks, Carmelo. Okay. So you think the 4 looks good, okay, in this race, I assume. Let's see. Maybe he could run down again. This race we thought we're trying to beat the 5. We thought maybe trying to beat the 1, 3 to 5. The 5 potentially could be the speed of the speed, or at least if they hooks the 1, we could see maybe we're looking for the 4 to come running late. So we'll see. Wouldn't discount the 7 in this race or the 3 just based on their plots, but especially if you're trying to beat the 1, you might go a little deeper. But for me, it's 4 and 5. Oh, okay. Carmelo, race 6. He means the 4 looks good. Okay. I trust him. Okay, so they're out, and what happened to the 5? My goodness. Did I miss the break or something? Did he miss the break? Okay, that's not good. So looks like we got some bunching here. 3 and 7 are kind of dueling for the lead. 2's now putting himself into the race. And it looks like our big favorite's getting a pretty good trip. Right behind the first flight. Got the 3 and a 7 dueling. Wow. This is not how I expect this race to play out here. And the 1 is stalking inside. 3 and 7 going at 2, sitting a good trip. Big long shot. But the 1's going to be tough here. I don't know what happened to the 5. I don't think he got out of the gate or something. Whatever. So it looks like the 1's looking good. The 4's got some run from the back of the pack. So he's starting to make indent in the race. And the 5's starting to come alive here. I don't know if he's got enough time to get into the race, but he's coming alive. Looks like the 1 is battling with the 7. The 5's got run. The 5's got run, but he's not going to get there. It's just he's got like too much to do. But 7's going to win the race. And it looks like, wow, look at the 5. He's just Oh my goodness. Oh boy, he just missed. I don't know what happened to the 5 early on. The good news is the 1 lost, I think. And I missed the last one. The 5 was kind of coming up. The 1, 7, 7, 1, 7, 1. Oh, that's tight. I don't know. Let me go back because I'm going to rewind here. I just want to see what happened to the 5 at the start because I missed it. Oh, we got taken up soon after the start. Okay. I mean, it just you didn't look aggressive there either, coming out of the gate. So it looked like it's 7-1. Wow, 5 almost won the race too. Well, the thing here was beating the 1. I told you the 7 or the 3 might be horses you include if you're playing some of these races. But wow, it changed the whole story here. I think this 5 was just motoring late. Okay, well that was that race. Let me look at Carmelo, who says that this 4 looks good in race 6. Let me see if he told me the truth. Well, the good thing is you beat the 1 there. If you were aggressive, include the 7. Good for you. But yeah, that was the key to that race being. Okay, yeah, the 4 does look good. I think he does look good, at least from a plot perspective, because it looks like there's maybe some pace in front of him, Carmelo. So yeah, I'm with you. Hot trainer combo there, so why not? That was Carmelo saying race 6. I assume it's Belmont, number 4. Kirkick. I don't know if you're going to get. I don't know. I think I'm just be interested to see what his price would be in this race. But who knows? Okay, so I think I'm going to wrap. Again, good luck in the next couple of races. Talked about them before. Let me just show you again. If you're, especially if you're playing the late pick 5 or something, we'll start race 5. I'll go back to race 4 in a second. Race 5, I just thought 8 was you want to include the 8. I think 2, 6, 8, and 9, but I just think you want to include the 8 in your exotics. That was the key to that race. The 6th, and Carmelo has an interesting player in the 4. Wouldn't probably single that horse, but definitely would use him. The 7th was a race that I thought it looked like it might be set up for someone off the pace. Kind of preferred the 5 and the 4. Or my keys in that race. And then just to go back to race 4 in this next race, the 5 looks okay, but I thought the 4 was interesting, right? I just there's a race where I said include the brown horse, but I thought the 4 was kind of an interesting race, the horse to maybe use in the exotics, tries and supers, okay, because he'll be a price, and he's better than he looks based on his recent action. Okay. All right, everyone. That's all I have. Okay, Carmelo. Yeah, he said Belmont. Good. So thank you for listening, and check us out at OptixEQ.com. And if there's something that you like, what races or tracks you want us to cover next time we do a live one. I'm kind of thinking that probably during Saratoga and Del Mar we'll do more live ones, especially when it overlaps on the weekend. Like maybe a late Friday. Get the late Thursday or Friday. Get the late races from Saratoga and the early races from Del Mar. Emily covers Del Mar for us. I cover Saratoga, so we can probably handicap them together, and who knows. So, yeah. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Ending.